The following podcast is intended for mature audiences. If you enjoy our work, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow the links in the description. Thanks for your support, and enjoy. Greetings and salutations, listener. It is I, Eric J. Chucky, joined as always by the man who can throw a pencil into the air and catch it in the position ready to write, the boy.
Hey!
This is the Two Nerds Podcast. Yes, we are back on Monday night. Well, I guess it's Monday morning.
Essentially just, you know how our schedules lined up in such ways we had to move the podcast out a day? Well, they're back now, so we're moving it back now.
It honestly actually never happened, and we've been meaning to get back on Mondays for a long time now, but we either forgot or didn't have a podcast ready for you.
I was going to try and make us sound a little more together, but okay.
No, man, if the listener likes to know when we shit our pants.
I have not shit my pants.
I think I might have when I was young, but it's been a very, very long time.
Anyway.
Speaking of shitting your pants, it's SummerSlam 1996.
Boy, we're going to say some shit that's going to be unpopular on the internet this time.
This time?
This time.
As opposed to all the other times.
Sometimes we say stuff that everyone agrees with.
That's true. You can tell by all of the likes, subscriptions, and comments on our videos.
Yeah, exactly. Why'd you have to bring us down like that? That was hurtful.
No. We do get a lot of good likes and comments, actually, now and then. And we appreciate every single one of them, except for the ones I block. Getting real! Okay, so SummerSlam. This was a pay-per-view. I thought we'd already watched it.
I didn't think we had, because I didn't remember having watched, like, the title match or the Boiler Room Brawl. And that's iconic enough that I think I would have remembered watching it recently. So I checked, and no, we hadn't. It was SummerSlam. We almost skipped one on accident, listener. I'm sure you would have been heartbroken. But instead, we watched the one we were supposed to watch, and therefore it is my fault that we had to watch Owen Hart fight Savio Vega. And for that, you have my sincerest apologies.
The finish of that match was fun.
The rest of that match was...
there. It was there.
So, wrestling match.
It involved Savio Vega. Oh, I fucking don't know what else to say. I
think you can sum it up best with the thing you literally said when his music hit. He's not fired yet?
I'm aware that there's a decent-sized contingent on the internet that really likes Savio Vega. And this isn't like with Jim Cornette, where I think he's a fucking asshole, but I recognize he was he's good on the stick. I don't understand why anyone would like Savio Vega, except that maybe they share a nationality.
Yeah, he's a slow, unentertaining, boring, paunchy mess. I don't understand what, but okay.
Yeah, whatever.
Soon he will be fired, and I'll never have to watch another Savio Vega match again, and that'll be great.
Yay! Owen Hart can do cool shit.
For a while.
Dark.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a decent match, actually. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, fun. A fun match. Nothing, super magnificent, but, good times.
Also, there was a title involved, so there was a point to it.
True. True of two matches on this card.
Yeah, but, a couple of the other ones had decent feuds behind them.
That's true.
I think really only Sid and the Bulldog was kind of thrown together, but even it had some, Yeah. It felt like it had a point. It was the New Rockers. I believe this may have been the debut of Leif Cassidy in the ring. If not, it was shortly after.
He looks so different without facial hair, I literally did not recognize Al Snow. I actually said, did they clone Marty Jannetty?
I got to feel like the guy who knows shit about wrestling for once. This was one of those times where I just actually knew what was going on.
No, I had no idea. I did not recognize him without facial hair. That was an entirely genuine comment, because he looks eerily like Marty Jannetty.
We also had the Godwins and the Smoking Guns.
And the Body Donnas.
Yeah, the Body. I thought I started with that. My bad.
But they were in a 4-way match for the WWF Tag Team Champions, an elimination tag team match.
single elimination. One guy went out, the whole team went out.
Interesting in that friendly fire was turned on for this match.
Yeah, that was interesting. They did a...
They mentioned before the match that there's no limitation on who you can tag. So if you tag someone and their partner's already in the ring, they have to get in the ring and then they have to fight.
I like this match because the commentary had a lot of that sass between the commentators that you didn't see a lot back in the day, but you see a lot now, especially when JBL was around, of just like them being real. And I was it Mr. Perfect who was talking about what a great fighting champion Billy Gunn was because he was in the ring, and JR and Vince both went, well, no, he just lost the coin toss.
It's great.
Yeah, that was great.
This was a highlight of commentary for the match, and despite the fact that fucking good old JR and Mr. Perfect are on commentary, the commentary for this evening was mostly god-awful, to be honest.
Yeah, when Perfect talked, when he bothered to, he was great.
Because he's Mr. Perfect.
I liked Mark Henry's brief interlude on the mic. He was the realness.
He was just happy to be there.
He was just glad to be there, and then he was like, this business needs to stop.
But, like, JR was mostly on his game, but there were some moments when I had to go, what? And Vince was the most disinterested I have ever heard him.
He was doing his quiet Howard Cosell impersonation. Other than that, it wasn't really much of anything.
He sounded like he was deeply uninterested in being there.
I booked this. I'm going to flagellate myself later.
I booked this mess. This was my fault.
Honestly, the card wasn't that bad. Like I said, this match was fun. Like we were saying, I believe Phineas and the non-injured one, I can't tell between Skip and Zip. Not
We're going
Chris
to skip.
Candido.
We're going to skip.
They did a little bit, and then they tagged in both of the smoking guns.
And then, as they were walking away from tagging both of the smoking guns, they Ric Flair strutted and then high-fived and hugged. And then just got in the ring like, go on, fight now.
But there was a lot of cool shit where it was obvious the smoking guns were in collusion with the Rockers, and
that fell apart because
Leif was overexcited.
And accidentally clotheslined one of the smoking guns. It was a fun match. There was a lot of fun business. A pig pissed on poor Midian. Some residue from one of the...
residue, yeah.
Vince, you magnificent jackass.
It ended in some tomfoolery, but I mean, it was fun. It was good.
The smoking guns eventually went over because of chicanery, and...
But that's good. This feud has been good. The Godwins and the Guns.
Honestly, this
really,
seems like
really tight stuff.
For being a relatively lower rated era of WWE tag team action, I can't recall a time when we've had if I go back, and I might be wrong, but if I go back and listen to the podcast since we started these classic pay-per-views, it's been basically the Smoking Guns, the Godwins, the Body Donnas have been the guys involved. The New Rockers are a new addition. And they've been putting on good fucking matches every time. I think we mention every time that their matches are good.
Yeah, there's usually like one or two kind of like, whoops. But no, overall, they've been entertaining.
Like, for being less well-regarded, these dudes put in solid work every pay-per-view. I'm mentioning that because I don't really, before this experience, I didn't really give a fuck about any of these teams. And I want to mention that because later we're going to have to talk about some wrestlers who I love deeply and love their bodies of work, at least one of which is almost, I think, 3 for 3 boring fucking matches.
Well, and something weird happened. So mid-show, I was looking up online to see if there was anything to talk about it, much like I did when the music cut out for the Godwins a pay-per-view or two ago. And I happened to notice somebody bitching about how shitty the tag team scene was. And I don't get that.
Yeah, no.
This was fun.
This was a fun match. It wasn't like the most technical masterpiece of a wrestling match, but it doesn't fucking have to be.
Yeah, not all of them need to be like our next match, for example. Well, no, not the next one. The one after. The next one's okay too. But here in a minute, we'll talk about Goldust and Mark Marrow, and it wasn't what is typical of Mark Marrow at all. But that doesn't mean it was a bad match. Like, it was just slower. And yeah, there were some shoddy parts to it, but it was still a good match. Wrestling fans don't know what they even want. They want to bitch about one thing and then bitch about the exact thing they asked
They
for.
want to bitch.
Yeah, that's nail on the head.
We're different, so let's do some bitching.
Yeah. No, but this match was good. The next match was British Bulldog versus Psycho Sid. I don't think Bulldog was high.
Startling.
Sid may have been.
Sid may have been drugs at that point.
He was a weed man, was Sid.
You can kind of tell.
He cut a pretty good whisper promo beforehand. Didn't hear half of it. Fucking.
He cut a promo where he was whispering away from the microphone for half of it.
P.S. Hayes is like trying to follow him with the fucking mic, and he's like up there doing quiet, whispery Ultimate Warrior shit.
Trying to almost actually dodge the microphone. He has to know how microphones work. And then he went out to the ring, and as he was going out to the ring, he was still promoing. He was not done.
No, but the fans were digging it, so whatever. Like, they were there for Sid. They were happy about it. Sid was over, man. Hell yeah, dude. I wasn't. I came in that pocket where Sid wasn't. Like, I knew of him, but I
didn't give a shit.
I always just missed him, kind of thing.
Like, oh yeah, I've heard of Sid. Oh, I must have missed him, sort of.
Yeah. So I wish I had known more about him when I was younger. I would have dug the guy. It would be nice to have that sort of, the same way I do for Mark Marrow, being able to look back and go, yeah, I liked this guy then, and it's good to see that my taste wasn't stupid. I mean, I can recognize that, as much as I really love him, Billy Gunn isn't the greatest wrestler of all time.
But, I mean, Psycho Sid he's a power dude.
Yeah.
He's not Bret Hart.
Yeah, he's not a high flyer either. No,
Sidmus.
Sydney, actually.
Sidithan.
Actually, before this match,
Sidalius.
there was an interesting interlude.
Oh God, that did happen right there. Oh,
after the tag match, not before.
I don't know how to explain this to you, listener. I felt like I had been astral projected into a worse universe.
See, well, God, this is 96. How old were you in 96?
Oh, 7?
Okay, so I was a little older, old enough to have better memories. This was that time. And as I said while we were watching it, this is the kind of shit that would come on a Saturday after cartoons went off. About 11 a.m., maybe noon. There was just the dumbest shit being filmed outside with all this fake hype that sounded fake of nothing. And except it was wrestlers. There was a part where the Smoking Guns got in a horse and carriage and raced the Godwins, who got on a bus to help promote the buses.
To promote buses, FYI.
They had air
maybe
conditioning.
Trains?
Oh, they were like some sort of... It was a mass transit system of some kind in Cleveland.
But more importantly, not only was this a fucking fever dream, it also was counterintuitive to their gimmick. Because the Smoking Guns are like the fast city slicker wannabe cowboys. And the Godwins are the actual good old boys.
Well, see, but that's the
Why
thing.
weren't they in the fucking horse and carriage?
Because we're in the heyday of faces are good guys, heels are bad guys. Like, there is no in between.
Also, heels are morons?
Yes. We're promoting the buses. That's part of the deal for us to be in Gund Arena.
So the good guys are going to be on the
win and
bus
get in the
trains.
bus. Yeah.
I was so off. If it tells you how off-put and weird this was, I don't remember whether it was trains or buses. I honestly could not tell you.
And then there was Jerry Lawler was hanging out with the Cleveland Indians trying to get
people to show him how to throw a spitball,
and telling jokes from the nosebleeds.
Whilst actual fans around him looked at him like, will you shut the fuck up? I'm trying to watch the game.
And then Mark Henry and Savio Vega and many other WWE wrestlers were painting a wall.
No. No. Many of them were painting a wall. Mark Henry was holding a child.
Holding
The
a
child was painting the wall.
Mark Henry was on some advanced shit.
They were living in 1997. He was living in 2997.
Oh my god. So yeah, that happened, and then Sid beats the Bulldog, which good, because Bulldog doesn't fucking...
I believe we actually spontaneously created a duet about the British Bulldog being...
Yeah, about it being on the drugs.
Yeah.
It's sad and tragic that man's career was cut short by substance abuse. But it's also kind of funny because, you know, he abused a substance. That was an elective thing.
Yeah.
You did it to yourself, man.
But
I'm
ain't
sorry.
no one hold a gun to your head and make you smoke the crack. I'm sorry.
Oh. Anyway, we had Mark Marrow versus Goldust, which was great for me because this is two of my favorites of all time.
I once again must remark that it is astonishing that Goldust was a established wrestler. He'd been wrestling for years. He wasn't a rookie here. And we get to 2015, almost 20 years later, 18 years later, actually. No, 19, because we're 1996 right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's so much better.
Yeah.
Like, the best year of Goldust's career was 2015.
Yeah, when he was tagging with Cody Rhodes, I will not disagree with that at all. I loved his psychology game in 96 and the following years. It was so strong.
It was a little bit... I've made this joke in the podcast before. Goldust, when he first started, his gimmick was literally just the words "gay panic" written in Sharpie on the back of a napkin.
Yeah, well, that started to draw a lot of like real life heat from the WWE, and
so like they tuned it down and they made it. They made that part, which is a legitimate, excellent psychological tactic against all these like super butch alpha male dudes.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly wasn't his gimmick to begin with. There's my brain is
the Nature Boy Buddy Rogers,
sure, and
but, like, it's a good... They folded it into, like, other parts of the character. They gave him more layers. They let him play around a little more. They let him be weirder in less overtly, weirdly sexual ways. I liked it. Goldust keeps getting better every time I see him.
Mm-hmm. We kind of peak just before Blue Dust. Blue Dust is kind of downhill. But,
That's when he joined the Blue World Order, right?
No, just the Blue Meanie became infatuated with him, and then...
Goldust has this thing where he joins other people in tag teams, and then those people kind of turn into Goldust somehow.
Or they're a funny black guy.
I would not be surprised if R-Truth just ended up as Goldust. People over there come and say Goldust. Goldust, 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 Goldust. Do it.
No, I mean, they broke up ages ago.
I know.
But yeah, this is a slow match. This is a methodical match. It's not what Mark Marrow's known for.
But it's a good match.
Yeah, there was only one real big cock-up near the end. Goldust goes to boot Mark Marrow in the butt to get him in position for the curtain call. And Marrow doesn't notice for a second, and then it just doesn't get any better.
There's just it's a little delay. It's about a second delay, and then he goes, "Oh, I was hit! Ow!"
But it was a good match. And
it was a solid match. I once again lament that Mark Marrow somehow managed to lose a feud to Sable's sweater friends.
Yeah, I mean, but no, now he's a motivational speaker, and that's good. You know, he helps people. He's happy. And he had some great time to shine in the ring. And he had great eye mustaches and a good regular mustache as well.
Yeah.
I want to remark again on Terry Runnels. Marlena, I forget if I think she's still Terry Runnels now. But she was phenomenal.
She had this great energy when she was Goldust's manager.
Yeah.
She had this great, really aloof, but very focused energy.
Powerful. It's the kind of thing...
The kind of thing you want to see in, like, an anime villain.
I mean, but it's the kind of thing you see in Stephanie McMahon a lot. She's just a hell of a lot more vocal. Just this investment, but detachment.
No, you know what? I actually sort of disagree. Stephanie seems much more actively invested.
Yeah, usually she does. It depends on the match.
It's that level of concentration, like concentrated intent.
Yeah.
The intent way she watches the match. You can clearly see she's following the match. She's paying attention. But she's holding herself very aloof. Like, specifically, it's like an anime villain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it all feeds into the psychology of Goldust as well. She's there to throw you off. Not even his manager seems to give a shit.
And it's really good. It's really understated, and
But like with this match, when push comes to shove, she will jump in.
She just Yominuro Nani, and she teleports into to the side of the ring to stop Goldust from losing the match.
Yeah, it's good shit. A little sad to see Goldust go over Mark Marrow here, not because of Goldust, but because of Mark Marrow. But we know how that all ends up anyway. So,
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, Goldust went over Mark Marrow. Everybody did.
Yeah. This bleeds us directly into that Jake Roberts Jerry Lawler feud that was awkward as hell last time.
I think we've made several jokes about it being, wow, this is really dark in hindsight. And it didn't get better.
No.
It did not get better. It got a lot worse, in fact. Like Jerry Lawler did this shtick beforehand. I'm going to be doing most of the talking here because Spork was literally gone for most of this.
I had a medical emergency.
I wish him all the best with it because I had to watch this instead. But he does like this shtick beforehand where he's like, I brought out Jake's tag team partners, Jim Beam and Wild Turkey or some shit like that. And he's like, he waited for Jake to come out. I was like, hey, you got something in your bag that I don't like. I got something in my bag that you'll like. So how about I give you what's in my bag and you just leave your bag out of this. And then he takes out a giant fucking bottle of champagne. And like Mr. Perfect is doing the jokes that Jerry Lawler would normally be doing ringside, and it's just I'm sure it was fun. I'm sure it was fine shtick at the time, but it's real dark in hindsight. And the match is, and like they have the match, quote unquote, they have is 4 minutes long and terrible.
This is the kind of shit that was really good when Jericho did it to CM Punk, because the guy wasn't actually battling addiction. You know, in this, especially in hindsight,
it's just fucking really dark, dude. Like, I'm sure it was funny shtick at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone was having a good time. Jake was in on it, obviously.
I mean, yeah, it's a work, and this, I believe, was during a period where he was clean. So, like, it was funny shtick, as clean as he got. No need for air quotes.
As clean as he got before the magic that is DDP.
Yeah. But, like...
What's going to happen is I'm going to go right in your veins, okay? I'm going to just get in there, clean all the gunk out. Don't go in my veins, DDP. That doesn't sound like something a person can do. I can do it. I can do a lot of things that doctors say you can't do, like go into man's veins, okay? I need you to just breathe deep. And then he was sober.
Yeah, that's how it works. You have seen this was a little divination. We looked directly in upon their conversation.
Somewhere
truly
at home,
transported.
Right now, is sitting next to Ultimo Dragon DDP. That's exactly how it happened.
Back us up, DDP. Tell him. But the match was 4 minutes, god awful, and then it ended. Can we move on?
Yeah, I'd love to.
It was really fucking...
I'd love to move on to
really
this
fucking depressing.
27 minutes of nothing. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so... I want to preface this. I recognize that the Boiler Room Brawl was a seminal moment in wrestling history. I recognize it marked a departure for the WWF at the time that became very important to them very soon after that. I recognize that it was a bellwether for changing times. All of that said, Spork, how did you like the Boiler Room Brawl?
It was boring. I mean, like, and I'm a hardcore guy. Not quite CZW. That's a little too far. A little gratuitous. There needs to be rhythm and harmony. CZW is kind of the thrash metal of hardcore wrestling, but old CZW anyway. And this had some good spots to it. Don't get me wrong, but like what we're dealing with here is roughly 20 minutes of dead air, audibly. Except
and
for
the word
Mankind's
atcha.
Atta.
It's atcha. It's atcha. He goes atcha.
And like there were good spots. Like I said, I mean Mick Foley jumping off a ladder onto a quote unquote box.
Onto one empty fucking cardboard box and the floor.
Undertaker stares at him going, I don't know why we thought that was gonna help anything. I killed a man. Are you okay, Mick? Atta!
Atcha!
Once they spilled out into the hallway from the boiler room, the match picked up. Once they got to ringside and the fans could see and were into it, that was a hell of a lot better. But
man,
20 fucking minutes.
It's not like it was edited for the network, because they made noises occasionally during it. For some unknowable, ununderstandable reason, the fucking commentators did not say one word during the vast majority of their time in the boiler room.
I think maybe they said all told 5 words. I'm not including onomatopoeia.
So, shout out underrated Batman villain, onomatopoeia. Well,
I thought he was a Green Arrow villain.
He technically is a Green Arrow villain, but one of his best things was in... Never mind. It was...
You don't need to fill. We're doing fine on time.
No. Fucking... It was... And, so it was just like a horror movie where you couldn't see anything, filmed on shaky cam with no music for 20 minutes. So it just looked like 2 dudes in funny outfits pretending to hit each other. It just fucked all suspension of disbelief.
It looked like something Brad Jones would review.
Yes! It looked like fucking... If footmen tire you, what will horses do?
No, that was a religious exploitation film. But yeah, no, it wasn't quite shot on Shitio, but it was not the best quality. I don't know if it was a video editing quote unquote trick or they actually just kept losing feed. Could have been either one. But yeah, once it got to the ring, once it got to the big climax, the climax was good. Paul Bearer turning his back on Undertaker like, no, you can't have the urn. You walked out of the room when he turned around and went, I'm Paul Bearer and you're not. That was spectacular.
Did he say that?
Yes.
That's amazing.
He completely one-upped Billy Gunn's quote earlier in the night of,
We're the best and you have to like it. Yeah. I'm Paul Bearer and you're not.
Oh, man.
So, this was the... It's like the worst version of a Japanese wrestling match. Just a really slow, boring build-up into a fun, but ultimately ultimately meh ending.
And I think a commentary would have done so much to liven this up. You know, we talk. JR talks. People better than us talk about how you want commentary there with bits of silence to let the wrestling stand out and let emotional moments have their resonance.
Constantly gibbering is bad. But that does not mean that the reverse is any better.
Even if it's in a language I don't understand, I can hear your enthusiasm.
One of the things commentary exists to do is to sort of do a little alchemy trick. It's designed to throughput some of the audience's enthusiasm in through the television so that you can get it at home.
Yeah.
You don't need commentary when you're at a live event because you have the audience around you as a living thing, cheering and booing and existing. So you get swept up and you get caught up in that. If you're at home, you don't have that. You can hear them, but it's not the same. So the commentators are there to provide the lyrics, to provide the enthusiasm that sort of makes the story go together. They're like the music in a movie. If you watch a movie with no soundtrack, it can be really good. But if it's like a big blockbuster action movie with no soundtrack, it's gonna seem weirdly empty.
And at the same time, if it's like the trailer for The Force Awakens and it's got that fucking horn in it, you're gonna notice and be really upset, Michael Cole.
Oh, that's rude. You meant Rogue One.
Was that Rogue One that had the horn?
Rogue One with the inescapable...
Oh, yeah, it was, because it had, yeah.
What will you become?
Yeah,
I'm a rebel. I rebel.
Oh my god.
None of those lines were in the movie. That was the worst trailer.
That horn did show up, though.
But like 2 seconds in the background. It was like a cameo compared... It was like if they had shown 1 second of the main character in the trailer. That's the ratio we were dealing with.
So, we all know historically how this ends. Paul Bearer turns his back on Undertaker, gives Mankind the urn. They walk out together. Undertaker is subsumed by druids.
And comes back cooler.
You had a point to make, I believe, about The Undertaker before we move on to the main event.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that despite being much maligned by many people, this era of tag team wrestling was solid work. Not the best ever, not the most exciting, but fun, and not a waste of my goddamn time. I think Undertaker, I'd have to go back and listen to the previous podcast, maybe there was a good one that I'm forgetting. I think Undertaker might be 100% win rate in terms of boring the fuck out of me since I started watching these old pay-per-views. And, like, it's never that he's doing bad. It's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe the magic hasn't shown up yet. Maybe he's not into his full Undertaker powers. He's not wrestling worse, obviously, than he did in his last couple appearances in the modern era.
I don't know. There's something amazing about seeing what appears to be a dying man fight his way through a decent wrestling match. Like when Sting wrestled Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know what it is. I almost want to blame myself for it for some reason, but I love The Undertaker. If he would be in my top 10 wrestlers, not just my favorites, but the best wrestlers of all time, just because of his presence and his ability to captivate a room. And he's been all of his matches since I started watching his old pay-per-views, to the best of my recollection, have been snoozers. I've literally fallen asleep during, I think, 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, there's something... He hadn't fully come into, what we tend to recognize as 90s Undertaker, Ministry Undertaker, or pre-Ministry Undertaker during his early Kane feuds and stuff. You know, we haven't hit that moment of darkness yet. He's still got the purple.
Yeah, it's a good rule of thumb, I think, is if Undertaker still has color in his outfit, then give it a pass. If it has gray or purple, he's not ready yet. He's still cooking.
And, while he's putting on stuff that was good, and definitely by the standards of then...
Really good.
Interesting stuff, it's just not... It's not what you look back on and go, oh man, remember when Undertaker was fucking amazing?
No, when I think, remember when Undertaker was fucking amazing, I think when he crucified Stone Cold Steve Austin, or, like, tried to marry Stephanie McMahon in an evil ceremony, or when he straight up tried to murder at least 4 people. And his matches during then were better, too. They were, at the same time, faster, and he seems like more like a horror movie villain. He was more intimidating.
I want to say that he's working with injuries through this entire, last couple of months.
That would make a lot of sense.
And that's... I'm not the wrestling historian.
He just seems to be missing a step.
Yeah, I'm not a wrestling historian, but I'm almost positive Mark is, slow.
And that's why they gave him some time off.
Yeah, that's why that he's been making sporadic appearances anyway, because... he's been buried, he's been this, that, and the other thing, and now he was kidnapped by druids. So, I want to say, if my recollections are correct, Undertaker goes away for a little bit. I don't think he's at the next pay-per-view. I think when he shows back up is when he's got that spring in his step again, and he is the Undertaker, the one that you think about.
I'm very much looking forward to it, because this has been disappointing for me.
But on to something that actually wasn't disappointing, was our main event, the WWF World Heavyweight Championship match between Shawn Michaels and Vader.
Hey, remember the last podcast where we really shit on Vader, a lot?
That was before we knew he was a sad fat guy.
I'm not going to take any of that back. I don't feel like any of it was fake or false or untrue, but he did a great job. This was a damn good match.
Yeah, this was great.
Now, to be fair, it's probably partially the fact that he's in the ring with Shawn Michaels. But
coked up Shawn Michaels, even. Coked up something to prove Shawn Michaels.
And, it was good. It was damn good. It was fun, and even the bits where he was on top and, getting heat were entertaining to watch. Jim Cornette was in fine form.
Yeah, them restarting the match twice at the end of it was spectacular.
Because Shawn kept winning via or Shawn kept losing via non-title losing scenarios. Not because he was a coward or whatever, it just kept happening.
Yeah.
And Jim Cornette was like, no, we're here to win the title. We don't want the win without the title. Restart the match. And it just kept happening, and it was done well. Jim, I could talk this match up quite a bit, especially because fucking Vader was in it, and this is the first time I have seen any glimpse of all the shit people talk about how amazing Vader was.
He looked good here, too. He looked like he'd lost some weight since the last month, and he'd trimmed down, and he was a little more fighting fit. So, yeah, I really dug this contest. I don't know what the hell else to say about it. I'd give it a watch if I were you. It's 23 minutes of your life.
And if you like Shawn Michaels matches, you will like this Shawn Michaels match. It has a great build, a good finish.
Really good impacts, too. Just, like, great moves. Amazing stuff.
Interesting twists and turns. Just a really solid way, a really solid main event. Sometimes in this era of WWE, the main event is really lackluster. Sometimes an earlier match blows it off stage. No one outperformed Shawn Michaels and Vader that night.
No, yeah, this was a card that built toward the main event, as a card should.
In the best case scenario, yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes you don't build the best main event. But that's it. I think we got In Your House.
Something the fuck or other.
Mind Games. In Your House Mind Games is going to be next. I'm going to try for not as long of a gap. But I think we also kind of want to watch Royal Rumble, don't we?
Yeah, next week you guys might just be getting the Rumble.
Yeah, you might get the Rumble. But, you went wrestlingless for so long, I think you'll deal.
Yeah, well, and whether or not you will, everything's better when nerds talk about it.
And you have to like it.